Of the latter part of the 19th century, which is the 1800s, let's go back and look at industrialization in the antebellum period. Antebellum referring to before the war in U.S. history. Anytime you hear of antebellum, it means before the Civil War. So bottom line, before the Civil War, our industry was really based on agriculture. Meaning that, sure, we had flour mills to grind the wheat into flour, but that's industry based on agriculture. We had cotton, right? We had cotton gins, but that's industry based on agriculture. Lumber going all the way back to the Puritans, cutting down trees, building ships. That's the type of industry based on agriculture, a plant like a tree. Now, by the late 1800s, the key to our industrial success are the railroads. I don't know what your teachers told you, but in my mind, there's absolutely no question about it. The railroads are the dominant industry of the late 1800s that really drives the rest of our industries. And now that we have railroads, you start to get steam engines, because you need engines to do the locomotives. Tractors, development of steel. All of this is going to need a new type of energy, so we mine a lot of coal. So now our industry is all about steel, iron ore, coal, not so much about cotton and trees and whatnot. Another thing that really, and we're going to talk more about this in a couple minutes, but another thing that really helps with our industrialization of the late 1800s, we had super sick, smart people like Thomas Edison that came up with a bunch of ideas. So if you think about from 1790 to 1860, that's a 70-year period. We had about 36,000 patents issued in the U.S. Patent Office. So the patent gives you a license to take your good idea and make money off of it so that other people can't steal that idea. So in that 70-year period, 36,000 patents. From 1860 to 1900, you had 676,000 patents. So bottom line, during this latter part of the 1800s, we're coming up with all sorts of ideas to try to spur this industrialization on. And another thing that spurs this industrialization on in the latter part of the 1800s is consumerism. That around the start of the Civil War, you start to get things like window displays. So you're walking down Fifth Avenue, it's ooh, Macy's, what's going on? Ooh, look, they have little elves dancing and they're selling tchotchkes, I don't know, whatever. And so window displays. You start to get the first department stores around the Civil War. So Macy's, Marshall Field's, Sears and Roebuck. And bottom line, these department stores tried to make the shopper feel like they were having a good time. They tried to make it fancy. So if you've been to Macy's in New York City, man, we don't even have to walk up the stairs, look at Macy's, they're going to take us to the second floor, and I don't even have to move. Damn, I want to spend my money here. There might be fancy chandeliers, brass rails, all this stuff to try to make them feel better. You get the beginnings of charge accounts at this time. Now, in reality, credit does not explode in the United States until the 1920s, but with the beginnings of charge accounts, people start buying in these companies. And then advertising. Again, advertising becomes more important in the 1920s, but certainly in this latter part, we increase advertising by about $50 million a year, up to $540 million a year spent on advertising. And one last thing about consumerism, catalogs come into vogue in the late 1800s. And so even if you live out in the middle of nowhere, you get the Sears catalog and you say, oh wow, Cyrus McCormick came out with a new mechanical reaper. I need one of these new mechanical reapers to match my, ooh look, John Deere has a new steel plow. To learn about these mechanisms that you could buy, all right? So, why was the United States so ready for industrialization? Bottom line, we had everything that we needed. We had coal, thank you. That's going to be something that we burn for fuel. We have iron ore to make steel, which is going to be the building block of the Industrial Revolution, either rails for the railroads, skyscrapers, locomotives, factories, whatever. Oil is going to replace coal as our fossil fuel that we burn for this Industrial Revolution. Water power, going all the way back to Samuel Slater, we can turn these water wheels for industrialization. I think this next one's super important. A government that encouraged business. And this government that encouraged business goes all the way back to Alexander Hamilton. One word answer, how did our government encourage business throughout the 1800s? Oh, laissez-faire is good. That's not what I was going for. Yeah, they let it alone, but they did one thing other than laissez-faire. Tariffs, yeah. That we're going to put taxes on imports so people are more inclined to buy products created here at home. So we had high tariffs, and we had a lot of European immigrants. Thank God for those Germans, Schmidts coming in, the Irish, the O'Connors coming in to do all the work. So the railroad, again, is the key to our industrialization. It's the key to mass production. So bottom line, we're not going to be able to produce as much as we can if we can't get finished products to market. How are we going to get finished products to market? The trains. And if we can't get raw materials from the mines or wherever to the factories to create something. So this is railroads. Consumption, utilizing natural resources, creating national markets, and really railroads for settlement of the continent as well. Because as we kept pushing further west, killing Native Americans, the railroads are going to be a good source of transportation. Rivers are a good source of irrigation. But then after rivers, they're going to go up railroad lines. So the frontier line all right. So the frontier line is, wow. Like a freaking Michigan. All right. The frontier line is not going to go straight across. Again, it's going to go up rivers, up railroad tracks, and then, as long as we keep killing red people, we can move west. Building the network. Let me just throw out some numbers to let you see how important the railroads were. Now, railroads really start in the United States about the 1820s. They're going to grow and grow and grow. So by the 1960s, we had about 53,000 miles of track. And, you don't need to write all this stuff down. The 1870s, we added another 40,000 miles. So just in that one decade after the Civil War, we basically doubled the amount of railroads that we had. Then by the 1880s, we added another 73,000 miles of railroads. So in the next decade, we almost doubled the railroads again. So that by 1900, we had a total of about 200,000 miles of railroads. Whereas this is only like 3,000 miles. So 200,000 is, back and forth like 70 times in different directions, creating this system that would allow for mass consumption and utilization of resources. Now, the initiative and management were up to private enterprise, meaning that these railroads were built by folks, companies, not the federal government. The federal government did help them. And the federal government, as you know, helped them in the form of land grants. Land grants granted in a checkerboard fashion so that as a railroad came through, they would get this land, so they'd get one square there, one square there, one square there. How do I do this? Like that. So they don't have a monopoly on all of the land next to the tracks, but they have 1 square miles in checkerboard fashion. Because bottom line, Leland Stanford, building the Central Pacific Railroad might say, well, why the hell do I want land in Nevada? There's nothing in Nevada. Well, the answer would be, hello.